A tranny for Trump. So, why does there need to be a video titled A Tranny for Trump? For me, there is a certain personal aspect to it. Uh, Obviously, there's a personal aspect to it, I would say, but when I came out as trans on Facebook 10 years ago, uh, just among my Facebook friends, I lost, I don't know, 10% of my friends, right? I didn't count. I wasn't doing the math. Uh, when I came out as a Trump supporter, I lost almost as many, if not more, Facebook friends for supporting Trump as I did when I came out as trans, right? Uh, so I feel like there is what do you want to call it? Uh, a kind of perception about Trump that you have a group of people out there who view trans a certain way with a certain kind of contempt or disgust, such that when I come out, out of the closet, they're like, I don't even want to deal with that. That same level of contempt and disgust is on the other side, right? Of people who just don't like Trump, and so in a way, supporting Trump is almost like coming out of the closet. But that's not necessarily why I'm doing this. It is more, I'm not going to attempt to change people's opinions about Trump. Um, I'm not entirely sure what it is I want to accomplish here. I think part of it is just wanting to make a video titled "A Tranny for Trump" and just put it out there. I think that's half of the intent right there. Uh, there is a part of me that wants Trump to see this. I do. I get excited about the prospect of him seeing this and like offering me a job or something. Uh, I am poor. I live in a bus. This is the bus that I live in right here. It is a mess at the moment. I am wearing a ratty wig that I've had for maybe 4 or 5 years. Just because I don't have the money to buy a better wig. Well, actually, I do, but I'm saving that for something else. So, sorry, Trump, for wearing a ratty wig. If you see this, but I am wearing this partly because I want to look like a tranny in the video, right? If I wasn't wearing this, you would think I was just a goofy looking guy. But what else? I do have boobs. What do you think? Uh, uh, I'm a little bit too excited. A little bit too excited. I can't think of what to say here. Uh, I'm trying to think about how to kind of pivot off that idea that there are people who see Trump supporters this same to the same degree that there are people who see trans as like this, just kind of like, let's just get rid of that. We don't want that around. Uh, so I do. I mean, I'm kind of getting it from both sides, right? Uh, I don't see Trump as a hateful person. I don't see him as a bigot. I don't see him as transphobic or misogynist. Uh, the military ban, the Trump trans military ban, makes sense, right? because for one, it doesn't actually ban trans from joining the military. It just says that if you want to join the military, you have to serve as the sex you were assigned at birth. If you were born male, you have to serve in the military as a male, and you can't transition while you're here, right? So I am a veteran. I've been taking hormones for the last 2 years, or I was. I'm not currently taking them, but I took hormones for almost 2 years through the Veterans Administration, right? So, if you're trans and you want to join the military, you can join the military. If you can hold off on transitioning, then just transition when you get out. I do believe the ban states, though, that if you are intending to transition, that you can't join. But of course, you don't have to tell them that you intend the transition. So, but yeah, I wouldn't join just to transition and have someone else pay for it. If that's not the point that I'm getting at, because I actually did want to join the military, and I don't want to get off on a tangent here, but I mean, I've heard arguments about Trump being racist. I've heard that he denied black people rent in his a building he owned, an apartment building he owned or something. But banks deny black people loans. It doesn't make them racist, right? Because they deny white people loans too, right? So I don't know. What I'm saying is I don't know the specifics about that enough. I don't know the context just to say, well, that's proof that he's racist, but neither does anybody else, right? I shouldn't say nobody knows that. Maybe there's somebody out there who knows that. But just saying, well, he denied black people a spot in his apartment doesn't prove anything, right? I'm sure the apartment complex up the street has denied black people spaces to rent. The wall thing, I do not. This is one of those things I don't understand. Why people think that's racist. You already have a border policy. You already have border security there. You already have people being paid to stop people from coming into the country illegally. So how was a wall any more racist than that, right? That to me never made sense. It almost seems like it would be less racist, right? Because the wall doesn't discriminate. Right? The wall is an inanimate object. It is just designed to keep people from coming out, in or out, illegally, right? I mean, if you want to avoid discrimination or if you want to avoid racism, then the wall is the best option, right? The wall doesn't make choices. It's not like a security guard who can say, oh, fuck this Mexican guy, right? Seems like the less racist thing to do, right? But I'm not here to be an apologetic or to defend Trump. That's not really why I'm here. Why am I here? I'm not entirely sure. Other than to just show my support, Go team, go! I think it is important for Trump for trans people to show their support because, in a way, like I said, this is almost like coming out of the closet, right? And for trans, it is important to come out of the closet because you're making it better for other trans, right? So the way I see my own coming out of the closet as trans, I see it as beneficial for other people who are in the closet, right? And so I see it as a similar situation here, where if you're a trans person, you might be afraid to show your support for Trump. So you might be a Trump supporter living in the closet as a trans person, right? But what else is there to say? I guess one is that I genuinely believe that Trump is just the best leader available. He is I shouldn't even say available because in my opinion he's the best one that it's as I'm 48 years old. From the time I was old enough to understand what was going on in politics, not which is not to say that I understand now, but so from the time I was old enough to just observe elections on the television and make opinions about candidates and kind of, you know, see what they were about and that sort of thing, I've always been disappointed. I've only ever been disappointed, right? Uh, and Trump is an anomaly in that sense, where he is like the great hope, right? He is almost in a way a messianic figure, and he says things like that, and people might say, well, he's like just self-aggrandizing himself. He has this kind of megalomaniac mentality, where he's has said before that he's the chosen one and things like that, which I'm not going to try to defend that, but I don't feel like it needs to be defended because he is the best thing that's been around since I was born, or at least old enough to understand what was going on. Not only is he the best, but I actually think he is the one to get the job done. He is one of my grievances with politics from the time I can remember knowing about politics is that candidates say things when they're running for office, and then when they get into office, they don't follow through. And as far as I can tell, that's because of either they never intended to do it in the first place, or they don't have the ability. They don't have the strength or the clout or the weight to go into office and start moving pieces around, right? Now, I understand that just having that position, there's some amount of power that comes with that, right? Like, I don't imagine that when even Biden goes to some subordinate and says something that the subordinate's like, "Go fuck yourself," you know. I don't imagine that it's like that, right? But I also think that in general, people don't respect Biden. I don't think they look at him and think that he's a good leader, or that they're really, worried about, oh, he might get pissed off if I don't, I don't I don't get that impression. And it's the same way with Harris. Kamala, I'm not sure how to say her first name. I think I might just call her Harris from the rest of this video. But I don't get that impression about her. That she's, the way I see the dynamics between the party and the candidate is flipped between the Democrats and the Republicans. The Democratic candidates are beholden to the Democratic Party. They are dependent on the Democratic Party for guidance, to know what to say when they're on stage. It wouldn't surprise me if the Democratic Party is telling them how to dress, how to do their hair and all those other sorts of things, because it comes across as total practiced presentation. That this is false, this is not genuine, it's not off the cuff. Whereas with the Republican Party, it's the exact opposite. With Trump, right? The Republican Party is beholden to Trump, not the other way around, right? It's Trump. If anything, it's Trump who's telling the Republican Party how to dress. What they need to be saying in this sorts of thing. And I'm not saying he does that. That's not my point. But my point is to say that the dynamics are reversed, right? Biden was propped up by the Democratic Party. Harris is being propped up by the Democratic Party. With Trump, it's the exact opposite. He is the one. He is the horse pulling that wagon. He's not being pushed by the wagon, right? So, What I think is that if Trump wants to accomplish something while he's in office, he is the best person to accomplish it, to get it accomplished. Even if you had another candidate who wanted to accomplish it, even let's just say Harris wants to accomplish the same thing as Trump. Let's say they have the exact same plans for everything. The way I see it is Harris is less likely to get it accomplished than Trump. So, in a certain sense, it doesn't even matter what her plan is. Just like it doesn't really matter what Biden's plan is. I don't think Biden even had a plan when he went into office. I don't think he ever came up with a plan while he was in office. But again, I don't think it matters because even if he had a plan, I'm fairly certain it was not his plan to drop out of the race. Uh, but I'm not going to try to argue that point here. I'm not going to try to prove that or anything like that. But what does it tell you that Biden dropped out of the race? I mean, if I don't look at myself, I'll end up making a video like this and just talking. So, if I want to make my video proper, I have to look at myself, right? So people might say that I'm self-centered because I'm constantly looking at myself. I don't get the Trump is racist. I don't get that Trump is self-centered. What's the other one? What is the other one? Focused on the past. I don't get that one either. I mean, if I told Trump that I'm happier living as a trans, what I imagine is he would say, "That's you've got courage to follow your own heart. I respect that. You know, that's what I imagine he would say to someone like me. I've never actually seen him interact with a trans person, with a tranny. I've never heard him say anything directly about the rightness or wrongness of trans. I have heard him say things about men playing in women's sports, right? So, and maybe to some people that's transphobic. But even as a trans person, I don't think that men should be playing in women's sports. Because they obviously have an unfair advantage, right? It's not, I mean, it's not even, I feel like it's not even debatable, right? I'm sure that there are some men, like I'm sure if I were to go play in the WNBA, I might get trounced, right? So, but that doesn't mean that men should be allowed to play in the WNBA. So, what else is there to say? I mean, I would say that I do have fears. I do have this fear of Trump being too powerful and turning into this megalomaniac, Alexander the Great kind of figure who just is like, I'm taking over the world, right? I'm just going to become emperor of the world, right? I do have those fears. But I also think that I'm more afraid of Harris being president than I am of Trump becoming the world emperor, right? Because I'm living in a bus because I can't afford an apartment, right? I do have a job. It is a part-time job, so you might say, well, if you had a full-time job, you could probably afford an apartment. But with what I'm making now, I could have afforded an apartment 6 years ago, right? Because the price of my apartment has more than doubled in the last, let's see, 2016, 8 years. So in 8 years, the cost of my apartment more than doubled. It went from $420 a month to now being more than $1,000 a month in 8 years. So with the job that I have now, I could have rented the apartment 8 years ago, right? Even 6 years ago. My goal right now is not to move into an apartment. I don't want to move into an apartment because the way I see it is I'm throwing money down the toilet. So even if I could afford an apartment right now, I don't know that I would rent one. But I don't want to get off on these tangents. So the way I feel about Trump is I would, if Trump had a job for me, I might take it. Now it depends on what the job was. I don't I'm not really a leg person, and I mean like I don't really want to go just do menial labor, right? Uh, if it was something like, I don't know, making advertisements or something like that, I probably would jump on it. My arm is getting tired, Trump. I'm sorry. My arm is getting tired from holding this phone. Because this isn't the first video that I've made. But I'm on the spot. I'm on the spot. I'm on the spot. I think that's good, huh? Did I say everything? We'll just go with that for right now, because it's probably better to end it there than to just sit here for 5 minutes trying to think of something to say, right?